right, so let's talk about gesture drawings real quick. You got a couple different ways you can do gesture drawings. First of all, you can basically look at the figure, and since gesture drawings are supposed to be loose and light and airy, you can just kind of sight it, sketch it out, boom, boom. Here's my hand. I may not even get all the definitions in the fingers right, unless I really feel like the fingers are going to, taking a stab at those fingers are really going to help when I go to do this for real, when I do the real one. And I got a fist up here, and a thumb, and a forearm, and a shoulder, and a thigh. It's amazing I'm labeling these things when I know darn well that you're not supposed to use the words, because you will get a symbol of that object instead of that actual object. All right, so that essentially in itself becomes a gesture sketch. And in college we do what would be known as 3 second gesture sketches, where a teacher would be like 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and then you'd be like, there you go, there's my gesture sketch. Use a piece of charcoal. But that's not the only way to do a gesture sketch. For any of you people who have taken cartooning and animation, and anybody who had me last year should remember the can of the human head. Can of the human body. It dictated that the human body was 7.5 heads tall. So just as a quick review, 1 head, 2 head, 3 head is the belly button. All right, so spine, you count this as 1, 2, 3. 1 head to the side, boom, boom, there's my shoulder. 1 head to the side, boom, boom, there's my other shoulder. 1 head below the belly button, wrists, and crotch. All right. Now, I usually measure from the belly button the rest of the way down, and that throws some people off. But I go 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So we've got 3 heads to the belly button, 4.5 heads to the feet, and then we have bread rolls, 2 bread rolls for the shoulder, 4 bread rolls above the belly button, 2 bread rolls below the belly button. That's the only place that the bread rolls end up being in the body. All right. And then everything else, for the most part, is going to be teardrops. So we'll go from the shoulders, and the teardrops get thinner every time there's a joint. So about your first set of our abs, that's where that breaks off. Our second set of abs is where your elbow starts, or your forearm. I guess you could use bread rolls for the hands. Either that, or you could use potatoes. Potatoes is good. And then your biggest teardrops overlap at the crotch. This makes the whole pelvic zone. Whenever you're drawing a body, you like to curve lines to make it look more three-dimensional. And then your calves come from your knee down to your feet. And I kind of put carrots for my feet. Chest, I used to teardrop out from the shoulders to make the chest for a guy. I'd teardrop out still from the neck to make the bosoms on a girl. But honestly, you can go from the armpits down to the edge of the abs. You're all right. And then the next kind of volcano. All right. Those are all the super quick measurements for the can of the human body. We can apply that as a gesture sketch. So if you didn't like the first, if you're not comfortable with the first scribbly that we did for our gesture sketch, there is a much different way to do this. Gotta make sure that I can see this. All right, so remember I always complain about how people should do sighting? There's the line his body's at. There's the line his shoulders are at. There's the line of his forearm. I'm sorry, of his bicep. It comes back for the forearm. This comes down, this shoulder. All right. Comes all the way with this forearm, goes like that. We have a head that's loosely contained. Actually, that should be a little lower. I'm looking at his collar. Threw me off. All right. And then we have a foreleg. That leg's still right there. This one's going straight down. This part's going back. So I pretty much sighted the skeleton for that gesture drawing. Then all I got to do is put my bread rolls where my bread rolls go. Put in my crotch, put in my teardrops. Always thick to thin. Sometimes parts of your arm are going to overlap. Sometimes parts of your arm will look different or short, or maybe your leg looks short. Real good example is this here. This is called foreshortening. Whenever a leg goes back, like this, we don't see all the leg at once. It ends up being foreshortened. All right. Now, if you're having problems drawing any other part of them, if this needs to come out, you can sight the outline of your character or your character of your gesture drawing, and then fatten up when you need to do fatter areas. And even though it looks a little elongated, that's roughly how I would do a gesture sketch using the canon of the human body. So you got options. You got this, you got that. You could start it like this. Honestly, these 3-second drawings he would have us do in college are pretty much this. So there's not a ton of difference between those ways of drawing. Just one has a skeleton to try to keep your proportions together. Okay, so a lot of people are like, well, why you learned that? I learned that first year. Yeah, you did. Have you applied it since first year? You know, have you done a quick gesture sketch, or have you done the skeleton? Because if you had, then yeah, then that was just review for you. It's no biggie. But some people are like, well, you know, I love to paint. I don't normally do that whole skeleton thing underneath. I don't have to worry about my proportions because I only do portraits. When you get like that, then sometimes you need to brush up on those skills. Because like speaking a language, if you don't do it all the time, you start to forget stuff, you know?